So this weekend we have some massive games coming up in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship. We have two crunch quarterfinals in both Clare and Waterford, and also Galway and Tipperary. Of course, there are some big matches taking place across the country as well. We've some big games coming up in the Joe McDonagh Cup with the potential of Kerry and Carlow potentially still a chance of playing in the Joe McDonagh Cup final, which of course will take place on All-Ireland final day. Two big games, of course, as well in the Christy Ring and Nicky Rackard Cup. Two finals, of course. Massive for the counties that are involved. And yeah, look, listen, I'm back again here, of course, with my preview ahead of this weekend's hurling action. Talking about all the big talking points, all the big matchups, and all the potential scenarios that could take place. So yeah, let's get straight into it. What's going on, everyone? It's Aaron here from GA Fan TV, and I'm back again, of course, with my preview for this weekend's hurling action this weekend. And yeah, look, listen, some very interesting games taking place this weekend. Of course, at the end of the weekend, we will know our final four for the All-Ireland Hurling Championship. And I'm going to be honest, like, it sounds crazy saying that. It genuinely feels like the Hurling and Football Championships literally started about 2 weeks ago. I mean, well, they started, what, 3 weeks ago? I mean, it's absolutely, it's just crazy. It's crazy. But I mean, look, listen, two massive games between Clare and Waterford, and also Tipperary and Galway. You know, a semi-final place at stake for these counties. You know, massive importance for both of them. And look, we'll start with Clare and Waterford. And look, listen, I'm going to say straight off the bat, like, who makes these draws? Because Clare, I mean, somehow they've managed to get the easiest draw available to them once again. I mean, they got Laois, they got Wexford, and now they've got Waterford. And look, listen, that's not to disrespect Laois, Wexford, and even Waterford. I mean, look, listen, Waterford will not be an easy tie at all for Clare. But I think, you know, if you had to ask them who they would have wanted, they would have chose Waterford. I mean, they certainly didn't want Galway. I don't think they wanted Tipp either. And the fact that Galway and Tipp are playing each other probably suits them as well, because at least one of them are knocking each other out. And they'll probably be happier with the side of the draw they fell on as well. So they'll actually play Kilkenny rather than Limerick. And obviously they played Limerick already. That didn't go too well. So all of a sudden you're looking at Clare and you're thinking, you know, an All-Ireland final is not out of the possibilities here. And look, listen, the same can probably be said for Waterford as well. But for Clare, they're coming into this game with a lot of momentum. You know, they struggled against Laois by all accounts. They didn't look great in that game, but they got the win. And sometimes, you know, you just need to take your wins. You'll build the next day and you'll get better. And in the Wexford game, they were far better. Probably their best performance so far of the season. You know, Tony Kelly at the moment, I mean, you just can't stop him. You can't stop him at the moment. I mean, 145 in 3 games so far. I mean, some of the scores he scored against Wexford that day were just absolute wizardry. I mean, some of his scores were from the corner flag. Some of them he was facing the opposite end of the goal. You know, his body was to his own goal, and he turned and hit it over the bar. I mean, this guy is just unbelievable at the moment. He's absolutely unplayable. By far the best hurler in the country right now. And, you know, someone needs to polish his All-Star award, literally, because, you know, he's collecting that award at the end of the year. You know, maybe if Clare lose this game, he won't get it because, you know, you think of Patrick Horgan last year for Cork. He was in unbelievable form. But, you know, normally it will go to someone who won the All-Ireland or at least played in the final. But, yeah, look, listen, you know, can anyone stop Tony Kelly? How will Waterford deal with Tony Kelly coming into this game? And, you know, you're looking at Waterford and you're thinking maybe Ty the Burka is going to be the man who picks him up. You know, he's a very physical, strong player. Very good at fullback, of course. Can play in centre-back as well. And, you know, he does have a bit more pace about him, I think, as well. You know, obviously Matt O'Hanlon picked up Tony Kelly in the Wexford game and certainly struggled a lot to keep up with him. I do think, though, at the same time, some of Tony Kelly's points are literally just unmarkable. Like, some of the points he was scoring, as I said before, like one from the left-hand side, one from the right-hand side, in front of his own goal, one from the corner flag, you know, scoring goals as well, going dead centre, going through the middle. So, you know, even if you put a man on him, like, are you really going to be able to stop that? You know, because no one, you know, if a player has the slitter in that kind of area of the pitch, you're thinking, well, he'll probably, maybe he'll try and take a point from here, but he's never going to score. But Tony Kelly, more often than not, 9 times out of 10 will score, and that's the big problem for Waterford going into this. And, you know, maybe Conor Prunty picks him up. Look, listen, he could certainly be an option for Clare as well. Maybe he picks him up, or an option for Waterford, I should say. But it's going to be very interesting to see how anyone stops Tony Kelly coming into this. But look, listen, you can't underestimate the work of some of the other Clare players. I said in my last video that I wanted to see a bit more from Clare, and we certainly did see a lot more from them. Although we didn't see the same scoring as some of the other players, we did see a lot of the other players really put in a bit of a shift. And I'm looking at Shane O'Donnell, who, he's almost putting in the graveyard shift in many ways. Often known as a very creative flair player, but actually so far this season he's been very, very good at just working the ball, working scores for Tony Kelly, winning frees, and he's done a great overall team job for the team as well. I think, same can be said for Aaron Shanahan. I think he's been great since he's come into the team. Scored 3 against Laois, was impressive as well against Wexford. And obviously the return of David McInerney, that's going to be massive for Clare. Obviously he was suspended for the Wexford game. He'll come back in for this game. He'll be fresh as well, having not played last week. So that will really, really give them the impetus, I feel, to go and win this game. But look, you can't look past Waterford. Will they have emptied the tank after the Limerick game? That's the only question. They gave absolutely everything in that Limerick game, and now just a week later having to turn it around again, it's going to be tough for them. No doubt Limerick are a better team than Clare, so if Waterford put in that same fight and that same endeavour that they did against Limerick, and they apply that in this game, I think they've got a serious chance of winning this. And look, this could be a game that could go to extra time. This could be a game that goes to penalties. We haven't had a penalty shootout in either football or hurling. In the most important games. Obviously, we had one between Down and Offaly, but we haven't had any penalty shootouts anywhere else. This could be it. This could definitely be it. This could be very close. Jake Dillon, of course, was great in midfield the last day against Limerick. He'll need to be on form again, especially to try and neutralise Tony Kelly a bit and stop the forward runs of David McInerney. Stephen Bennett, probably the best player on the pitch against Limerick. He scored 12. Obviously, 8 of them were from frees and only 4 were from play. But he did have a very, very impressive game. And I do think, he's a player that we're going to, have to keep an eye on most certainly. And Austin Gleeson, look, he probably hasn't had his best championship so far. He is playing, in a different type of position. He's playing a full forward. He normally plays more, on the defensive side of the pitch. So are we getting the best out of him at full forward? I'm not sure. But I do think overall we are seeing a better overall performance from Waterford. And maybe him playing there has something to do with that. So, look, listen, I think Clare will win this game by 2 points. But I do think this will be close. Like, this could go to extra time. This will be an intense battle, but I think in the end I just fancy Clare to edge Waterford and win it by 2. And then we have Galway and Tipperary, and yeah, what a terrific battle this is going to be between these two. Galway and Tip certainly not shy from each other down the years, and look, listen, they certainly did not want each other coming into this game. Tipperary did not want to draw Galway. Galway certainly did not want to draw Tipperary. They're probably the 2 strongest teams in the quarterfinals, but yet they're playing each other, and I suppose that is just the nature of the draw. And for Galway, I worry for them a little bit, to be honest, because they played well against Kilkenny and they were the better team, but they still lost that game, whereas Tipperary didn't play well against Cork but won the game. And you're kind of looking at it and I'm thinking, when Galway Galway sometimes play well and lose, Tipperary often don't play well and win, and sometimes that can be a worry, because if Tipperary turn it on in this game, if we see the likes of Seamus Callan pick up the pace, Noel McGrath, John McGrath come into the game, I think they're going to win this game. And for me, Galway, they need to watch their discipline a little bit. They gave away a lot of silly frees against Kilkenny, and they'll need to be wary of that going into this game, in my opinion. There is question marks for me over their defence a little bit. Their goalkeeper, Aina Murphy, at times, coming out of his goal when he really didn't need to. Look, listen, I know that Richie Hogan goal was something special. We probably won't see a goal like this anywhere else in hurling this year. But at the same time, him rushing off his goal, like he did it for another Richie Hogan chance as well. And, they do need to watch that. And a little bit defensively, although Fintan Burke's been very impressive, I do think there are a couple of question marks over their defence. Did Daithí Burke, did he rush back from an injury too soon? There are some question marks there. But I do think Galway, Johnny Cohen, obviously brilliant in midfield, had a very good game against Kilkenny, especially in the first half, really set the tone, got a lot of good hooks in, won the ball a lot of the time from Kilkenny's puckouts, and very impressive overall in the midfield. Do they have options from the bench as well? That's another question about Galway. Obviously, David Burke and Jason Flynn, two good options, but are there any real other good options from the bench for Galway? That's the question, because Tipperary were able to find options from the bench against Cork when they brought on the likes of Paul Flynn and Willie Connors. So it's going to be interesting, and I fancy Tipperary to win it a little bit, because I still don't think we've seen the best from Tipperary, and I still feel like they have another gear to go up on, and I feel like the fact they're playing a team like Galway, they're going to be up for this game. They're going to be ready for it, and I've a sneaky feeling they're going to do it. Look, listen, Noel McGrath has looked jaded. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Will he play in this game? It's hard to know. John McGrath, of course, got subbed after 33 minutes against Cork, so that's going to be interesting to see. But I do think we've seen the best of some of the other players who've stood up. The likes of Michael Breen hitting 5 points in that game, Willie Connors and Paul Flynn, like I said before. Dan McCormack, his work rate can't be denied whatsoever. And obviously Cathal Barrett in defence has done a great job as well, it must be said, for Tipperary. So yeah, I fancy Tipperary to win this by 3 points. I think it is going to be close, and they'll probably edge back and forth, but I have a sneaky feeling we're going to see a similar trend with Galway, like in the Kilkenny game, where in that final quarter of the game, Tipperary are just going to have a little bit more endeavour and win this. And I also think Tipperary are going to put in a performance that will remind people that they were All-Ireland winners last year, they are still contenders, and they might even go into that Limerick game with a serious chance of winning it as well. So I'm going to say Tipperary win it by 3 points. And moving on to the Joe McDonagh and the Christy Ring Cup as well, of course. And look, listen, obviously it's very hard to watch every game up and down the country, and unfortunately the Joe McDonagh, Christy Ring and Nicky Rackard Cups, they don't really get the coverage they deserve, and that is a bit frustrating, I'm not going to lie. But Kerry and Carlow, this will be a very interesting game, because it is basically a semi-final, and Kerry, although they lost to Antrim, they did show some bright signs. The likes of Shane Conway hitting 1-7, Daniel Collins hitting 1-2 as well, and Shane Conway, one of the best hurlers in the country probably. And Carlow, obviously they have their own talisman in Marty Kavanagh, 113 against Meath. The only kind of difference from that was two of them were from play, as opposed to Shane Conway, who hit 1-3 from play. So it's going to be interesting, and I just have a sneaky feeling Kerry are going to win this. I think they have a bit more momentum. Carlow only beat Meath by a point. It didn't look, overly great in that game. Meath's indiscipline really cost them, giving away a lot of frees. So I fancy Kerry to win this. The other game, we'll see Meath versus Westmeath, in which is almost like a relegation battle. I think Meath are going to win it, because for whatever reason, Westmeath have been awful in the Joe McDonagh Cup so far, and I really admire Meath's work rate. They're built as a team. They don't really have any individual talents, but the likes of Jack Regan, Pádraig O'Hanlon and Damien Healy all been very impressive for Meath. So Westmeath have been very poor in the Joe McDonagh Cup. It's hard to put it down. It's hard to know why they've been so poor, but I just have a sneaky feeling Meath are going to win this one. You've then got Down in Kildare in the Christy Ring, and Donegal and Mayo in the Nicky Rackard. And yeah, look, listen, we're really kind of pinching above our weight by talking about this one, in all honesty. But look, listen, Down, what a win over Offaly. I mean, Offaly, big traditional hurling county, shouldn't really be playing in the Christy Ring Cup. Let's be honest here. They should be a Lee McCarthy Cup. They should be in the Leinster Championship. But you are only as good as what you have, and unfortunately for Offaly, things have gotten really bad in the past couple of years, and Down were able to take advantage of that and beat Offaly on penalties, with the likes of Owen and Daithí Sands contributing quite a lot. But I do actually think Kildare will win this game, because Kildare have looked very impressive in the Christy Ring. What a big win that was over Roscommon, and you're looking at the likes of Jack Sheridan scoring 2-6 in that game. Brian Byrne, James Burke, all been very impressive, and no doubt hurling is on the rise in Kildare at the moment. Very good at the club scene as well. So yeah, I think Kildare will win it. Donegal and Mayo, to be honest, I wouldn't have a clue who would win this. I'm going to say Donegal will win it just because I can. But Jared Gilmore, from looking at it anyway, he scored twice in the last game versus Tyrone. I do think as well Donegal, they're used to winning the Nicky Rackard. They've won this before. They're usually a Christy Ring Cup team, so I think Donegal will win it. But at the same time, Cathal Freeman and Shane Boland have looked good for Mayo, so they might be able to cause a shock, but I'm going to go with Donegal. Anyway, lads, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notifications bell so you are notified every time I drop a new video. I'm generally getting videos out every day at the moment, so yeah, hit the notifications bell, be notified. when these videos come out. You know, follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media sites. You know, I do all sorts of content over there as well, like Team of the Week and lots of different stuff, you know, kind of going on over there. You know, sometimes live streams and Instagram Q&As and whatnot. So make sure you go over and follow. The links to all my social media will be in the description down below. So make sure you go and follow. And yeah, my name is Aaron. I'll catch you in the next one.